Hello and welcome to Trauma Toolkit. Trauma Toolkit is a series of 4 workshops that addresses the biological impact of trauma. Now, I've tried to keep the content as simple and user-friendly as possible, so hopefully I don't bombard you with too much information. The good thing about these videos being online means that they're always accessible to you, so that you can watch them as many times as you need to recap on anything that you might forget. Now, before we begin on this journey together, I think it's important to acknowledge that Trauma Toolkit is not a cure. Unfortunately, it can't take away the sad or the painful experiences that you've been through, but hopefully these workshops can help you manage the effects of those experiences, which can make your day-to-day life just a little easier. So I strongly encourage you to be somewhere peaceful if possible and away from any distractions whilst watching these videos. I think it's really important to honour and value yourself as well as the experience you've been through by giving yourself some uninterrupted time to watch them. So if you can, switch your phones off or at least put them on silent so that you can be fully present and engage with the content of the workshops. This will be especially important when it comes to doing the skills together in future videos.
Let's take a closer look at the aims of Trauma Toolkit. They are to provide information about the neurobiological causes and effects of trauma, and to provide a toolkit of 6 wellness skills to help manage the effects of trauma. These are based on the Community Resiliency Model from the Trauma Resource Institute. The feelings and symptoms you're experiencing may be about your body and mind trying to adjust to difficult or stressful life experiences. As you learn how to work with your mind and body to restore balance, it is important to remember that there is hope. These workshops will help you understand your reactions and help you learn a set of wellness skills that can help you feel more like yourself again. The 6 wellness skills are tracking, resourcing and resource intensification, grounding, gesturing, help now, and shift and stay. I'll explain what each of these involve as we progress through the workshops. The skills are a biological intervention that will help you to learn to stabilize your nervous system so that you can feel better more often for longer periods of time, and to help you feel more whole in mind, body, and spirit. So let's take a look at the schedule for the workshops so you know what to expect each week. There will be 4 workshops in total. Workshop 1, which is this video, will be Psychoeducation. Psychoeducation simply means providing education and information relating to mental health. The psychoeducation provided in this workshop will look at both the brain and the body in relation to trauma. The remainder of our 4 workshops will be learning about and practicing our toolkit of wellness skills. Workshop 2 will contain the first 2 of these 6 skills, tracking and resourcing and resource intensification. Workshop 3 will focus on grounding and gesturing. And our final workshop, Workshop 4, will look at help now and shift and stay. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with the first workshop. Now, this workshop contains quite a lot of information which you will need to focus on to understand. It lasts approximately 20 minutes, so you might want to split this into 2 lots of 10 minutes and give yourself a break in between. This workshop is perhaps the hardest going, but it's really important for you to understand how and why trauma affects the mind and the body so that you can learn how to best help yourself. So please bear with me. I promise the rest of the workshops will be much simpler. Both the body and the brain are affected by trauma. I'm going to start by explaining what happens to the body during and after highly stressful or traumatic events. This graphic shows the resilience zone. Every person has a resilience zone. When you are in your resilience zone, your emotions and nervous system are regulated. there is a natural equilibrium and balance. You can think clearly, handle feelings better, and manage the sensations inside the body. When you are in your resilient zone, there is a natural rhythm or flow within your nervous system, just like there is in nature, with the rising and the setting of the sun, the cycles of the moon and the ocean, and the seasons. When we are in our resilient zone, we have the best capacity for flexibility and adaptability in mind, body, and spirit. The black line demonstrates the natural rhythm of the nervous system. The crash graphic represents a traumatic or stressful event or a trigger that causes the nervous system, now showing as the red line, to get bumped out of the resilient zone. When it is bumped out of its natural rhythm, the nervous system can be thrown out of balance. The capacity to handle even daily life events may be difficult, with normal life stresses that once were shrugged off causing a reaction of irritability or more serious symptoms. It is human nature to be bumped out of the resilient zone. For some of us, due to stressful or traumatic experiences, we may feel bumped out most or all of the time. When bumped out of the resilient zone and stuck on high, a person may feel some of these ways. And when stuck on low, like these. Or they could go between the two, sometimes stuck on high and sometimes stuck on low. Some people describe it as like being on a roller coaster. And when we go back and forth between the high or low, we may begin to have problems with our family, our work, and our community. The triggers that bump us out of our resilient zone can be almost anything that reminds a person of a traumatic or stressful event. Often, the trigger is outside of our awareness. Our nervous system is designed to sound an alert if we are in potential danger, and these alerts go off based on past experience. The triggers are different for each person, but they could be a certain smell, sound, or even an internal body sensation. One of the goals of these workshops is to help you bounce back into your resilient zone so that you can feel like your best self more often. The Resiliency Zone scale can be used to track whether you are in your resilient zone or if you are stuck on high or stuck on low. One of the goals of these workshops is to expand or deepen your resilient zone so that you can experience it more often. Your ability to handle life stresses and the triggers that may occur because of past traumas increases as you expand your resilient zone. Paying attention to whether you are in your resilient zone or bumped out is one way for you to gain greater awareness. Once you start regularly tracking your nervous system, you can be more aware of when you are in your resilient zone. The numbers to the side of the graphic shows that 1 to 3 represents stuck on low. 4 to 7 represents the range and vitality of your resilient zone, and 8 to 10 represents stuck on high. So on a scale of 1 to 10, notice, say out loud, or write down the number that best describes how you are feeling right now, if you're in your resilient zone or stuck on high or low. And you can use this scale to record how you are feeling throughout the day. It's also useful to record your numbers before and after using the wellness skills taught in these workshops. Take a screenshot now so that you have a reminder of the scale to hand whenever you need it. As you learn the skills, the goal is to be in your resilient zone more often. If you are bumped out, using your wellness skills can help you get back in. To give you a greater understanding of what causes these highs and lows, I'm going to explain about the accelerator and the brake of your nervous system. The accelerator is responsible for speeding us up, and the brake for slowing us down. Now, there are two kinds of brake, the foot brake and the hand brake. It's useful to think of this as like driving a car. The car is designed to naturally drive along at a safe, comfortable speed. The accelerator allows you to go really fast to get out of dangerous situations if needed. Obviously, driving along at fast, dangerous speeds isn't good for us long term. And the foot brake. This gets pressed as little or as much as you need and allows you to drive comfortably within the speed limit for a nice leisurely drive. And you have the handbrake. The handbrake can get slammed on in emergencies. As you can imagine, trying to drive with the handbrake on can cause serious problems. So when we get amped up because of a traumatic or stressful event or a trigger, the accelerator is activated. Our heart rate and breathing rate increases. Our body is preparing for action, and the blood flow is being directed to our arms and legs to run away or fight. When the threat is over and the trigger subsides, our nervous system automatically comes back into balance by putting on the foot brake. This slows down our breathing and heart rate to return us to a balanced state. This process is what our nervous system is designed to do. However, for some people, it can be difficult to come back into balance, and you may feel like your foot is always on the accelerator. The nervous system can only stay amped up for so long before it ramps down too much and the person is stuck on low. The handbrake is on. Some people describe it as the nervous system getting hijacked. So the way we learn about bouncing back into our resilience zone is by tracking the sensations connected to the accelerator and the brakes. Learning to tell the difference between them is very important for bringing balance back to your body and mind. Although these states happen automatically, through practice of the wellness skills, you can interrupt the hijacking of your nervous system and come back into balance. You might find this graphic useful to appreciate further the complexities and nuances of your nervous system. The brake and accelerator are connected to different organs of the body and affect them in different ways. So the accelerator is the sympathetic nervous system, and the brakes are the parasympathetic nervous system. This graphic can also help you to understand why some people who are amped up all the time, so stuck on high, may have problems with their digestion, for example. The mind and body are connected. Okay, so we're about halfway through the workshop, and I just wanted to check in to see how you're doing. Now would be a good time to take a break if you needed, so feel free to put me on pause and come back when you're ready. If you're okay and good to carry on until the end, let's keep going. The nervous system regulates the activities of the body and mind. The brain is also part of the nervous system. The brain is a highly complex organ, and there are many detailed and complicated ways to describe the brain's functions. It can be helpful to think about the brain as having three parts. Let's look in a little more detail about what each of these parts of the brain is responsible for. So here's a cross-section of the brain and the three areas that we will learn about. To give this diagram some reference, this part is the front of our brain and this part is the back. So first we have the thinking brain, which is our neocortex. Next, we have the emotional brain, and that's our limbic system, which is located in the center of our brain. Finally, the automatic brain. This is our survival brain. This is the base of our brain and our brainstem, which connects to our spinal cord. Okay, so let's look at each of these areas of the brain in a bit more detail. So our thinking brain is in charge of thinking, organizing behavior, and decision making. It is a part of the brain that takes in information from the body's senses and decides on actions. It is also the center for consciousness, intelligence, and personality. The emotional brain is made up of multiple structures, and it plays an important role in love, friendship, attachment, affection, aggression, and the expression of mood. The emotional brain has two critical parts, the amygdala and the hippocampus. Let's take a look at the amygdala first. The amygdala plays an important role in several functions. One of those roles is as the brain's danger appraisal system, and it can be useful to think of the amygdala as the brain's smoke alarm. It's our early warning system to threat. It sounds the alarm that you are in danger, which sets off responses throughout the body to respond to that danger. The amygdala continually scans our environment for threat to evaluate what is safe and what is not. And it remembers anything that has threatened us, and so sounds an alarm for anything that reminds us of previous threats. Importantly, the amygdala gathers information through the sensory system. So the sounds, smells, visuals, touch, taste, and internal sensations within your body. So it's this information that the amygdala uses to determine whether you are in danger. Now let's take a look at the hippocampus. Part of our thinking brain, called the prefrontal cortex, stores pieces of information about an experience into short-term memory. So that's our little brown cardboard box there. And the hippocampus then takes these fragments of an experience and weaves them together so they can then be stored as a whole into long-term memory. And that's our grey filing cabinet. Crucially, the hippocampus inscribes the time context on events, and this gives experiences a beginning, a middle, and an end. This process is called memory consolidation. So the hippocampus takes small chunks of an experience, such as picnic, Caroline, park, sun, happy, and combines them together into a fully formed memory that is integrated and stored into long-term memory. You can then remember that last month you had a picnic in the park with Caroline. It was a warm, sunny day, you had tasty jam sandwiches, and you felt really happy. Okay, now let's go back to looking at the three parts of our brain. The final part of the brain that we're going to look at is our automatic brain. The automatic brain goes into action when you perceive danger. This happens automatically without thinking. The survival brain goes into action to save your life. It triggers our heart rate to go up and our breathing to go faster. It tells chemicals to flood our brain to give us the energy to fight or run from a threat. When faced with danger that is perceived as life-threatening, the human body goes into instinctual defensive responses. The three instinctual responses to threat are fight, to fight the threat, flight, to run from the threat, and freeze. This is what happens when you are unable to respond to the threat. The defensive responses can be triggered as a result of traumatic events that have occurred in childhood or adulthood. If the alarm is sounded, the automatic instinctual responses to fight or flight may be triggered even though there is no real danger. This is the accelerator of the nervous system being activated. And I'll give you an example to show this response in action. So there was an ex-soldier, he went to the petrol station, and he pressed the pump to fill his car up when suddenly, out of nowhere, his heart started to race. He was filled with fear and had the urge to run away. Now this reaction might seemingly make no sense as he wasn't in any danger, but the smell of petrol had triggered a memory from when he had served in Afghanistan, and he and some of his fellow soldiers had been badly hurt following an attack. The soldier's amygdala had sounded the alarm at the smell of petrol, and his body went into an automatic response. His nervous system accelerator was activated, sending it into the high red zone. When it seems like we can't fight or run away, you may not be able to move and everything feels like it is in slow motion. The accelerator of our nervous system might feel like it is pushed to the floor, but we are not going anywhere because the handbrake is on. This is an automatic response beyond our control. When people are in a freeze, they may look calm on the outside, but on the inside, they are in a high level of stress. When we talk about the impact of trauma, we usually mean the feelings and symptoms one can be left with following a highly stressful or difficult life experience. This is a result of brain and body processes coming out of balance. Let's take a look in more detail at what happens to the brain and body following a highly stressful event. A person is in their resilience zone when, bang, a highly stressful or traumatic event occurs, causing their nervous system to get bumped out of balance. Meanwhile, in the brain, the amygdala sounds the alarm that there is danger. Their brain goes into an instant response. Their thinking brain goes offline, as well as the hippocampus in their emotional brain, directing all of their energy to the automatic brain to respond to the threat. The accelerator of the nervous system is activated to help them fight or flight. If they are unable to respond to the threat, the handbrake of their nervous system is activated too, sending them into the freeze response. Following stressful or traumatic events, the amygdala can become too active. It can have a hard time telling the difference between what poses a danger and what is safe. The amygdala can sound an alarm even if there is no danger. This can cause the accelerator of the nervous system to get stuck on high. So after smelling burning, the amygdala can sound the alarm, believing that the house is on fire, when it is in fact just burnt toast. And when the amygdala is activated to protect you, the hippocampus is impaired. The hippocampus is not able to integrate and file these fragments of experience into long-term memory, nor give them that crucial timestamp for when the event happened. This means that those individual jigsaw pieces, the snippets of sensory information from the stressful or traumatic event, remain unprocessed. And because that crucial timestamp is missing, those fragments of experience have no ending. These snippets of sensory information are known as fragmented memories, or what some call capsules of memory. This impacts the way a person remembers and recalls memories of an event, especially ones that contain a fear element, such as those related to trauma. These emotionally charged memories are stored differently in the brain. They do not have a timestamp, and this can result in recurrent memories or flashbacks of the event. Ingredients within the capsule include the sounds, smells, pictures, body sensations, and emotions that a person experienced at the time of the emotionally charged event. These capsules of memory can be triggered by an external or internal trigger. External triggers is sensory information which is external to us, such as the sounds of a siren, the smell of perfume or smoke, and visuals like the colour of someone's shirt, images from a movie or on television, and touch. Now that could be of a certain body part or even a vibration. Internal triggers are sensations inside our body, such as a rapid heart rate, tightness in the stomach, nausea, headache, or muscle tension. Now this kind of memory has no time and space, and that is why when a memory capsule is triggered, it feels like the event that happened 6 months, 1 year, or even 10 or 20 years ago is happening again in the present moment. For some people, there can be many triggers, and this can lead to being stuck on high or stuck on low much of the time. When there is no real threat and our body and mind react as if there is, we call this a hijacking of the nervous system. Learning how to tell the difference between sensations of distress and sensations of calm and comfort can help you intervene on the hijacking of your nervous system. This is done by paying attention to sensations connected to being stuck on high or stuck on low, and most importantly, by shifting the awareness to sensations of resiliency. This enables your nervous system to then bounce back into the resilient zone. With practice, the triggers that bump you out can be reduced or extinguished so you can better tell the difference between actual danger and ones that do not pose a threat. The wellness skills in these workshops can help you intercept this hijacking, stabilize your nervous system, and enable you to be in your resilient zone more often and for longer periods of time. This concludes our first workshop. So I thought it might be helpful to quickly summarize everything that we have gone through today. So you've learnt about your resilient zone and the accelerator and the brakes of your nervous system, which bumps you in and out of your resilient zone. The 3 parts of your brain, along with the amygdala and the hippocampus. The 3 responses to threat: fight, flight, and freeze. Capsules of memory and the types of triggers that can activate these memories. And you've also learned that using the skills in these workshops can help you be in your resilient zone more often and for longer periods of time.
I hope you found this information useful and it has helped you to understand some of the feelings or symptoms that you may be experiencing. Next week, we're going to be looking at our first 2 wellness skills, which is tracking and resourcing and resource intensification. See you at the next video.